Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to Weeb Seen It Podcast, episode number 26. As always, my name's Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
Okay, so a couple things to get into today before we start the episode. Number one, this episode is releasing about 1 day later than normal. I understand if that kind of sucks, and it also sucks for us. But as I'm sure many of you know, the Attack on Titan episode this week was canceled due to an earthquake in Japan. So I think they just needed to use that channel to get out a bunch of news and information. So we were waiting to see if that episode was going to air today. And as it turns out, it's going to air next week. So next week, we're going to have a double feature of Attack on Titan, which will be really, really fun. Yeah, but sucks for this week.
Yeah, I mean, a bonus for next week at the very least.
Yeah, so. Unfortunately, we don't have like community tabs yet because we're not a what are they called? Partnered channel. So good reminder right there. If you want us to get community posts and stuff like that, subscribe if you haven't, because that way we can get that 1K, we can get those community posts, and then we can update people whenever we have to be late on an episode or if one isn't coming out. Or then we can also do stuff like our votes that we keep wanting to do.
Yeah, we keep trying to do that, but it's kind of hard to go through the comments and just
we have to do very unofficial votes. But if we get something like a community tab, we can put out actual votes for like seasonal anime that people want us to talk about, which would be really cool. So yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. Share it around. If you have any sort of community you can share it to, Discord, Reddits, Yahoo, whatever
the kids,
you
got.
Twitter, whatever the kids use these days.
Share it out the window if you feel like it. Just let people know.
Tell people in person if you have those type of people in person. Other than that, we will not be talking about Horimiya today, which we kind of did intend to, because we've been talking about Quintessential Quintuplets for a few weeks now.
I was really excited to talk about it this week too.
We will be talking about it next week. The reason we didn't talk about it this week, just as big of a disaster. Not really, no. I watch it with my wife, and we haven't been able to watch it yet. Yeah. But next week, we will be talking about Horimiya, as well as, obviously, 2 episodes of Attack on Titan. So stay tuned for that. I think other than that, is there anything else I'm missing?
No, it just sounds like next week's going to be Christmas for me. So
yeah, next week's going to be a big week, so of course, stay tuned. Next week, we'll hopefully have the episode out Mondays, which is our typical Monday morning. And yeah, other than that, we're just going to get into the episode, guys. Okay, and we're back. So we're going to start off today, obviously, with same thing as every week, ReZero, episode number 48.
Love me down to my blood and guts.
So we get kind of the same thing we've been getting for the past few episodes. We're seeing the same 3 different splits, basically, right? Yeah. We're seeing the mansion, then we're seeing Amelia doing a trial, and then we're seeing a very small amount of Roswell and Ram and Puck.
Which we actually got a lot more of Roswell and Ram and Puck this week.
We did, yeah, and there was definitely some questions there. A lot of standard shit, I guess. I think that all the fans kind of already knew about the love stuff anyways.
I know. I mean, I feel like coming out with it at this point is kind of lost for some fans, but
yeah, I mean, were there really that big of Ram fans anyways? Let's be honest.
So.
No, so that's not too detrimental. But some of the big things, obviously, we had a lot of Garfiel versus the Bowel Hunter. I get her name wrong every single week.
No, you got it.
What a relationship that is between the two of them.
That was I didn't expect it to develop like that.
I wasn't expecting a backstory. I mean, it wasn't like a huge backstory. It was just in the middle of fighting. They were kind of throwing her backstory in a little bit.
I mean, I figured we'd get some background on how she became the Bowel Hunter. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and then we see that she really she starts taking to Garfiel. She likes him. I guess the level of fight he's putting up is better. Because I don't know, was it ever shown before that she just instantly healed? Was that did they show that early on in season 1? And it's just been so long I forgot.
I don't think they did, because no one was ever the only person that ever hurt her was the knight, right? Mm-hmm. So
then she fled immediately, but I don't remember her just instantly healing or anything like that.
I don't think so, but I think that was a really grievous wound. I feel like he was using a holy weapon too, so that might have done something.
Maybe. So that's why she's so tough. We kind of get an explanation as to why she's so good, is because I don't know if it's I think that Garfiel mentions it's because she's a vampire.
Yeah, she's a vampire.
Which we don't know how Garfield knows that. I guess he just kind of...
He mentioned he put it together from the information he got from books.
Okay. So you know what? Garfield in every other episode is typically a dumbass. And then all of a sudden in this episode, he's the smartest boy around.
The thing is,
he literally knows fucking everything in this episode.
The thing is, I don't think he's dumb. I think he's a teenager.
Yeah, he's 14. So I guess. But he knows so much information in this one. I feel like he's so good. Not only is he crazy good at fighting, even though, let's be honest, he lost to Otto, basically.
I mean, he lost to Otto and Ram and the Forest.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems like he should have beat all of them if he's this good.
I mean, yeah, but that's tactics. Tactics versus raw power is 2 different fights.
Either way, he's kicking some ass in this one, and he's given some knowledge too. He's doing both. Vice versa, and then on the other side, we see Subaru kind of dealing with the Mad Beast. I guess he goes with tries to science it out. He's like, dust and fire, bitch.
I know. He tried for the dust explosion. The moment I saw it, it's like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
You need a lot more than that.
Not enough fire. maybe not enough dust.
Not nearly. You need to fill the air with dust, not just like a little patch of
Luckily,
it.
though, call back to season 1. The whole reason that Otto was wanting to go to Roswell's mansion to go there was to sell oil.
Yep.
I think he mentions he bought like an excessive amount of it, so he's trying to sell it all off. And then Subaru made the deal like, hey, if you like help me with this, I will get all your oil sold to Roswell. So that's a nice little callback there, because they throw the oil in the Mabbies, they set it on fire, and then he kind of jumps out of a window.
Yeah. Did they establish that it's dead, or is it just heavily implied?
I think it's just heavily implied, because we don't see it again after it falls out the window. And next time we see the little girl, she's riding in on the hippo thing.
Yeah. The rock piggy.
The rock piggy, yeah. We did get some information. She says that they're sisters. I think that's more of an adoption thing, obviously, based off Elsa's backstory.
I mean, if they're both vampires, it could very well be like a familial bond that way. Like part of the same.
They're part of the same coven, or what do they call them? What's a group of vampires?
I don't know.
Not coven's witch, but I also felt like maybe it could have been that. I don't remember.
I keep thinking back to high school, and I keep wanting to call it like a clique.
I mean, maybe a Twilight.
God.
But so I mean, we get the information with that. We see Elsa's backstory. She says that the first time she had to basically survive from the cold was by cutting someone open. Like, she felt the warmth of the blood on her hands, and then became a little bit fucking weird. Became a little obsessed.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. Elsa was kind of best girl in this episode. I don't normally go for that type, but
I was gonna say I'm usually the one who goes for crazy.
I know
that's
a you thing, but I don't know. It's just she was cool, and I kind of sad at the end. If the end was confusing.
I think it's supposed to be implied that she's either dead or very, very injured.
Yeah, so we'll get to, since there's not tons of story in the whole Garfiel Elsa part. The end is basically the little girl with the rock piggy comes out, and then Garfiel just rips the rock piggy's head right off. Yeah, he's just tough as nails. I did like that he was like using the arm transformation separately, and then a little bit of the full body, and then kind of coming back down. But at the end, he bites her right on the nape of the neck, and then she bites him. And then it looks like her healing powers aren't working. And then he uses the body of the rock piggy to crush her. And by like her talking ahead, like right before the scene, it seemed like that she knows that's her death. Yeah. So is there some sort of thing with, obviously vampires' whole thing is they bite on the neck, right? Like that's like the vampire thing. So is there something to do with he does, like, because he knows about vampires, or so he's alluded. Is there something to do with like, you take their powers by like,
I'm wondering, because I know, especially in anime, there's a big trend where you gain vampire powers not only from being bitten, but by biting back. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if he, like in this world, you just transfer it?
I want to go back and rewatch, because they show a deliberate scene where like she looks directly at his neck, like it's a close on his neck, and then it's close on her neck. I'm wondering if like his was healed and hers wasn't.
Yeah, I'm not
showing
sure.
that he like somehow stole her vampire powers, and that's how now she's just gonna be crushed to death to die. Yeah. Unless it's also just like that didn't actually mean anything. But her like regenerating, her healing, it only goes to so much of an extent. Like her body being completely destroyed might be enough to kill her no matter what.
I mean, there's usually a rule like you destroy the head, you destroy the heart, something like that. They're done.
Yeah, I mean they can't just be 100% immortal. Typically, it's the classic, stake in the heart or like rip off a head kind of thing. Yeah. And we've seen her have some pretty bad injuries. Like at one point, she was like missing like half her face. Yeah. It was kind of blown off. But if her body's like crushed to just like blood and gore. Maybe she's dead. Maybe Garfield knows that, and that's why he uses the big fat ass piggy.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, maybe it just takes her a really, really long time to regenerate from that.
Maybe in like too long of a time that he'll be able to kill the other sister, and they're kind of going to be good.
I mean, even if they're just long gone at that point, I don't think he cares.
But it seems like it's definitely the beginning of the next episode is going to be like the resolution to the mansion part at least. Yeah. Because I don't think the other sister right now at least poses a big of a threat, because her two big Mabbies monsters are kind of gone.
Oh yeah.
And then Elsa. I mean, obviously, in the next episode, she could just full regenerate, push it off her, and be like, haha, I can't die. But it seems like based off what she was saying ahead of time, she like knew this was like her end.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a red herring.
Yeah, no. So, and then Subaru tries to find he's going for Beatrice again.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of like where he ends off. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go find her, and
Yeah, the last thing we see is him running off into the flames, and
and that's why he tells Petra, right, when he's telling Petra and Otto to escape. He's like, oh, when I bring Beatrice back, like be her friend. Yeah. And then obviously we cut to Amelia doing the third trial, which, I mean...
It was a lot more abstract than I was expecting.
It's abstract, but it also made me question some things, okay? Because she goes in, the trial really, like, nothing really cool is happening. They don't show us any of it. It's implied that she's seeing it all. We just hear a bunch of voice lines. Some of them are recognizable from the characters, others aren't. I mean, I'm sure that someone has went back and, like, deep dove into every single voice that popped up. But we're just hearing a bunch of different voice lines, and this is like implying to us that she's seeing all these different outcomes. And then it just kind of ends up with her going to the witch's tea party again.
Yeah.
And then the witch to show up as the fucking Powerpuff Girl one.
Yeah, I feel like it's Wrath.
Is it? It's either I think it's either Wrath or Pride. I don't know. She's the very strong one.
Yeah.
But like the conversation the two of them had, it was weird.
It feels like it was implying a lot more between them than.
Yeah, it felt like it was implying that was like her mother or something like that. Because she's like, oh, I like know your mother, and she's like, oh, can you tell me? She's like, no, I can't, and she like wouldn't let her turn around.
Yeah.
And like I was like, there's no way that like this random witch that no one really cares about is going to be her mother, right? They're saving that for a bigger reveal to be someone like one of the more important witches.
I mean, it could be like a godmother situation. It could be she's really close with her actual mother, and she knows she can't see her.
She's like not letting her turn around, maybe just because she doesn't want her to look at her. Maybe she'll see some sort of resemblance in her. She's like crying at some points after like Amelia is kind of saying some stuff. She does the classic like, ooh, like I know your mother, like I know who your mother is, but I can't tell you, which is like such a classic, your mother would say that. If there was like a show about like a mom who gave up a daughter for adoption and then saw it in the future, that's a line she would use.
That's pretty typical, yeah.
I don't believe so, but that's like definitely what, to me at least, it seems like what they're implying.
That would definitely be a shift. Because what do we know about her parents? We know that her father is related to Fortuna, and then we know her mother's a witch.
Yep.
So did she just get all her looks from her father? And
it looks more like she must have got her looks from her father, because she looks a lot like Fortuna, right? She has the same hair color, same eyes, pretty much.
True, but she did say she didn't look as much like her as she thought.
Yeah, that's weird. I guess maybe it's just like even what we've been seeing of her might have been the memory kind of thing. There's also one thing later though, and I think they've said this before, but what are the odds that Puck is actually Amelia's father? He called her his daughter, and obviously I think that's supposed to be like, oh, it's just like a father-daughter bond kind of thing because it's like protecting her. But if you think about the fact he's like a great spirit and he's all about ice, and like he will destroy the world if she dies.
Yeah,
there's a chance here. There's a chance that some sort of witch mated with some sort of spirit thing. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. My theory for a long, long time was that Puck was actually Amelia's mother.
Okay.
Like, was Fortuna like turned into a great spirit? Mm-hmm. So that was the angle I was going with. But
yeah, the only thing that doesn't really connect is if Puck is. I mean, we don't know how like these great spirits are made. For all we know, it's like something a human can do that becomes like a spirit. Maybe it was actually Fortuna's brother, did some shit. Became a spirity guy.
Do we even have a hard gender for Puck?
Oh, he keeps calling her his daughter, but I don't. And he sounds awfully male.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is, that doesn't identify his role in this.
No, but I don't. I feel like I don't know. He feels pretty male, but I mean, it's 2021. Who can say?
I mean, yeah, he hasn't identified himself or themselves rather.
But that's mostly it for Amelia's side of the story.
Yeah.
It's obviously very emotional. And then as she walks out, it's like the snowstorm.
Yeah.
Which was weird for two reasons. One, we know what that implies, and like obviously we know how that's made now. Roswell goes to the crystal, uses pretty much all the mana inside like the sanctuary to summon the snow to make, the bunnies come, and then that's like his like, I don't know, time's up kind of situation.
Yeah.
But he was stopped in the last time when he was there before, and even when they show the scene where he's fighting them, there's no snow. So now I'm confused as to what the fuck's going on.
Now, we don't know if those two are in sync with each other in terms of time. We don't know how long she was in the trial for.
It's true.
So for all we know, because the last thing that happened with the Roswell Ram fight might have triggered him to go start this apocalypse thing.
Yeah, I feel like that was, to me, it seemed more like it was on the trigger to making him turn,
I don't know. He didn't look like he was turning. He looked pretty angry.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's angry at first, but then after he sits on it for a couple minutes and he thinks about it.
Yeah, or he goes and he pushes the big self-destruct button.
No. Okay, so Amelia walks out. So obviously right now, it very much could be they're set at two separate times because, basically that would imply that Roswell has to win this fight somehow and then he has to go. Or at the same time, we're just thinking about the fact that he must activate this. There's another thing that typically makes a big snowstorm, which is when Puck gets real mad. As we've seen, that causes a very big snowstorm. So that also could be part of it. It could take place a few minutes after the fight.
True.
And, with Ram dying in the scene they're there, and by the looks of it, like the scale of it anyways looks like a death kind of thing. It could be Puck has to get real serious. We even see when Puck takes the big shape above, and you see like Roswell's face about how like scared he is, and he imagines like the real Puck form, and then he looks up and it's just big version of regular Puck. He's like, I'm big now. But that obviously like implies how like terrifying when Puck goes into his real form he is. And we've seen him do that once before, and there was quite the big snowstorm there. So
I mean, you're not wrong. The question is, like, does he care enough about Ram to do that?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, like, who does? Like,
Jesus.
He's like, oh no, Ram's dead. Too bad. I guess he doesn't remember Rem, but
I mean, we don't even know that.
We assume that because it seems like only Subaru remembers. But,
I mean, yeah, but for all we know, Puck's exempt from that. He just hasn't brought it up.
I mean, maybe. But yeah, so I mean, that leaves us some questions there. And then, as we mentioned, yeah, obviously there's a Ram fight still going on. Most of it, the really importance of it is that Ram confesses that she loves Roswaal, and he's like, no, that's not possible. Like, I like killed all your brethren. You like vowed revenge on me, and she's like, yeah, I did. She's like, but now I love you instead. And he's just like,
know, it's
no.
Do you feel like it's genuine, or do you think it's Stockholm syndrome?
I mean, it's definitely got to be Stockholm syndrome. I'm sorry. Like, what other explanation is there? Like, she's like, I mean, I was about to say half his age, but not even close, based off the fact that we've seen him many years back. And,
yeah, she's a fraction of his age.
Yeah, and like, we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen her really treat her very well. We've seen some weird ass relationship going on where she like sits on his lap and shit while he's doing stuff. But like, there's nothing there that we've seen to be like, oh, they would make a very cute couple. Like, good for them.
It makes me think of like all those times you look on like Instagram or Tumblr back in the day, and you would see like these really cringy, like abusive relationships.
I think
posts.
she's just into clowns, dude. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Oh God. Are they trying to turn her into Harley Quinn or something? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. People love Harley Quinn, and
God,
Roswaal's the ReZero's Joker, so it only makes sense.
I mean, she's gonna go dye her hair now. She's gonna be wearing really weird ass clothes.
She already has pink hair. What is she gonna dye to normal color?
No, multi-tone it.
Oh, I guess yeah. Just dye it like white, blonde, and then the pink stripe. Perfect. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to be like, oh sweet, I'm so happy for them. I'm actually kind of glad. Then Roswaal just immediately like kills her, basically.
Yeah.
She pulls like some really cool ass move to take his book. Says kind of like, hey, fuck you, Roswaal. This book's actually the issue. Throws the book in the fire. That makes him pretty pissed off. He likes a book. Yeah. He likes a good read. I don't know why he doesn't just get the Audible version of it to listen to it with.
They couldn't get a Kidnet to voice it, unfortunately.
Oh, darn. One day we'll have an Audible sponsorship, and that'll fit right in there again. But yeah, so she burns the book, and then he kills her. That's just, we obviously don't know. That's like the ending of the episode. But in that perspective right there, anyways, it looks like he hits her pretty hard. You see the classic her silhouette like goes flying.
I don't think she's dead.
Probably not, but the show wants us to think she's dead as the cliffhanger anyways.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we leave off in the episode.
Yeah. I mean, we did kind of forget, we saw Amelia smash a kid in his like casket.
Oh, yeah. That's and so she broke the sanctuary spell, yeah, but like no one really gives a fuck at this point. Like,
I know.
No one's even concerned about it. Like,
I know, but the big thing that I took from that was that she looked at it as like, this is supposed to be a kid in his coffin. Where is she?
Yeah, okay. So that brings back my sus question about when they didn't show a kid in his face, right? I also realized that too. She's like, I thought Echidna was the one here. And I'm like, that's clearly her. We can see her dress and everything. What do you mean, Amelia, you dumb fuck? Like, so yeah, I mean that leaves some questions about the whole Echidna thing and the face thing.
It's possible this whole time she's been just masking her appearance, and
it's possible, but even like everything we've seen other than her like eyes looks the exact same. So you'd still be like, hey, that's Echidna, but maybe without the eyelashes. Because like we've seen the same outfit, the same hair. It just still didn't show us a close up of her face, even inside like their coffin thing.
I mean, the big thing with animation is the eyes can portray a huge change in a character's appearance. So what if they show her and she just got Amelia's eyes?
I mean, her thing, if anything, was like the eyelashes was her big thing, right?
I mean, yeah,
but we talked about
it's
before.
Still part of the eyes.
Yeah, I mean, but then like you think Amelia there would have acknowledged that if she saw it, maybe.
I mean,
she's dead though. I'm assuming her eyes are closed in the coffin anyways.
Yeah.
She's like, "Who's this?" Like pulls her eyelids open.
Let me just break the spell and just let's take a look at these.
Just
puppies.
Like takes her eyelids, just rips them off. Oops, you don't need the. Oh, those are my eyes. And just
Jesus.
They show like a gory, like ripped off face. Yeah. It was an interesting episode. Obviously, the best part of it was 100% the Garfiel versus Elsa fight. Yeah. Because Elsa became best girl right before she died. Unfortunately, maybe as far as we know.
I'm concerned for you, man.
Where do you think Garfield's going in the future? The thing is, if Subaru has too strong of a crew, like what happens in the future that's going to be too hard for him then?
I'm wondering if like things are going to fall out because during Amelia's trial to see the future, one of the lines that stuck out to me was Garfield yelling, "And now I'm going to kill you, Subaru, like I promised."
Yeah.
Like I don't think he ever said that before.
No, but that's like 3,000 different outcomes, right? So all of them are probably pretty negative.
Yeah.
Because even as the other witch mentions, like. The Echidna's kind of a bitch, right? She's like, she's specifically only showing you all the bad ones.
True.
Because I'm sure in the future there'd be a couple good ones that would work out.
Yeah, just rule probability. Something has to work out.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a good episode. I know that people have still complained about like the pacing issues. I don't know if that's still a thing. But because this is what 48. How many episodes do we have left now? 2 or 3?
I think we've got. Oh man, I looked this up. I think we've only got 2 left.
Okay, so obviously the sanctuary issue got solved in this. The mansion issue seems mostly solved.
I mean,
so
sanctuary is not solved. If that's the Blizzard, that problem is not solved.
Yeah, I know, but it depends. I think it's like a mislead right now, and it is going to be a Puck Blizzard.
I mean,
I think she's gonna go up, see big ass Puck. He's gonna like calm down, and then it's gonna be like Roswell frozen or something like that. And I don't know. That's just my prediction. I think that it's kind of a red herring Blizzard to make us think, oh, Bunny's gonna come eat some people, because Subaru doesn't even know that this is an outcome right now, and I feel like he wouldn't. I don't think they'd do the whole Bunny thing if he's not even there.
True.
But I think it's just gonna be big Puck.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Amelia something to do to kind of prove herself.
Yeah, but come on, Amelia's not gonna do that.
Yeah, but Puck could.
Amelia's proving herself this season was just becoming less of like a little bitch in the like last couple episodes in the trials. It was more like an emotional.
I mean, yeah,
she stopped being such a loser.
I get what you're saying, but we could still have Puck just nuke them.
I mean, yeah, I think Puck could just freeze them all at once and just destroy them. But is he gonna though?
I mean, for Amelia.
I mean, maybe if they were all gonna actually eat Amelia, but that's something we'll have to wait to next episode to see. As I said, at least we've mostly cleared up these these elements that have been in play the whole time. Obviously, next episode, the beginning is probably going to determine whether or not they're actually cleared up. Like, some shit could still easily go wrong at the mansion.
Oh, yeah.
Just because the one girl's Mabbies are taken out. She might have more. She might have something else up her sleeve. Elsa might just literally just reform underneath Rock Piggy and push it, beat Garfiel with it, kill him, and eat Petra. I don't know. Like, anything could happen. Like, we have no idea.
Yeah, like, one thing you have to remember is, like, Mobbies aren't necessarily dangerous because of their size.
Yeah, like numbers and stuff too. She has like 300 of the dogs.
Wasn't there like 6 resets in the first season from Subaru getting bit by one particular dog?
Yeah, that little tiny boy.
Yeah. So if just one bite's gonna kill you, like that has a lot of implications.
Yeah, like sucked out all of his mana and shit. And that was like the big thing. He kept dying in his sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, we're going to find out next week, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to probably be a resolution for at least some of those things, and then we're going to be getting some cliffhangers as to what the last episode or the last 2 episodes are going to be about. So keep an eye out, and if you have any theories, thoughts, any of that, if you agree with our theories about, it being like a big Puck Blizzard, or, if you want to take any guesses as to who do you think Amelia's mother is going to be, just leave them down below and just try to stay spoiler-free as always.
Yeah.
Okay, next up on the list, Promised Neverland, episode number 9. No title.
Yeah.
I know that you have some complaints about this episode.
Yeah, I kind of went off in the group chat about this one.
I'm trying to think let me think of things I liked about this episode first.
This will be a short list.
I liked. Was there anything I liked? No, I don't think so. Yeah, so it starts off exactly where the last one left off. Obviously, Emma and Ray just make it a time to approach Norman and try and convince him that his plan is still not the best option, which they do so very quickly.
Yeah, he literally just says, "Okay, yeah, you know what, fine."
Yeah, he explains to them. He said, "Hey, he basically quits the plan. They kind of go into having some post-battle discussions, and he says, you know what, like I'm dying. I actually was experimented on. Even all of his people, like, oh, like." No, you weren't experimented on. He's like, no, I fucking was. That's what I'm telling you right now. And they're like, oh, shit. So he's like, yeah, we only have so much time to live. And I don't know. The biggest piss off to me in this episode wasn't even like Norman just giving up his plans. Because, I mean, like, at least you can kind of see that, he only made those, like, he didn't like those plans ever. He only made them because he was going to die.
Yeah, the fact that he buckled to Emma is nothing new.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
It's the rest of them.
It's not the... I don't even mind them turning so bad. At least, well, I mean, one of them didn't. At least, so one of them agrees with you.
I mean, okay, yeah, but like the rest of them just went, "Oh, Norman says not to kill." Okay, cool.
My big issue was the amount of coincidences in this. Like old man guy's like, "Well, look, I happen to have this piece of the pen that's going to give you all of the information you've ever needed. Oh, there's the gate. Oh, there's all the information in the place. Oh, here's actually a cure for Norman and them, so they're not going to die.
Yeah,
it's all there." And I'm just like, you've been carrying this thing around for 20 years. You don't even know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, just some random schmuck who died in the forest had this on him. Apparently, it's the newer version as opposed to the one that they got before, which should have been given to them after this one would have been on that guy.
Just the fact that this blind demon got like some sort of like coin-sized thing from a man. He's like, hey, this guy died.
It was like a watch battery. It wasn't even a coin.
He's like, oh, he died protecting this, so I'm going to carry it on me always. Like, he like, even if maybe he's like, I'll keep this, it's pretty important. Maybe he has like a house or something he puts it in. Yeah. But no, he literally has it in his pocket at all times, and not only does it give them all the information on the headquarters they need to break into, the human gate. It also then on there for some reason has the list for the cure that the kids from Lambda will need. And 20 years ago, before these experiments might have been completely different 20 years ago.
Yeah, my big question is like, if it's having this cure was so important, why would you not have it ready? Which means Norman would have had access to it.
Yeah, especially if this was 20 years ago and they already had this cure.
Yeah.
Because if they could cure the kids of this, they can then just experiment on them longer.
Yeah, better mass production, and you'd have meat that you could actually keep stable for some length of time instead of having it have a seizure and die in transit.
The coincidences in that part were just what pissed me off the most. And then obviously, the most of the episode doesn't actually have very much. It's kind of like, feeding some of the degenerated demons with some of the blood just to make them turn back, kind of be like, oh, sad demon stuff. Look, these babies are crying and shit. And then obviously, as Norman tells his team, they do kind of come around way too easily. The one guy that I wouldn't have thought would have been aggressive, who's like, no, like, we hate demons. And then they're like, hey, man, stop. We're good now. And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, there was, especially because the smart guy's like, oh, yeah, like, I guess he's supposed to be smart because no one called him over to look at the drug.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he was the only one who resisted while the other ones were all, like, pro, like, I will kill you if you want to sympathize with demons a couple episodes ago.
Yeah. And that's stupid. And then obviously it goes into the upcoming plot where Isabella kind of realizes that, hey, that the shelter was missing a radio. The kids are probably listening. Let's put out a fake broadcast saying we're going to ship out all the kids. So then even though like Ray and some of them say, hey, this is probably a trap, we have to kind of go anyways just in case it's not. Yeah. And that's what leads to the whole plot now of them going to have to go and break into the headquarters, do all that kind of shit. And then at the end, you see that the smarter one, I think his name's Vincent.
I think
the glasses, he gets on the radio and was like, hey, like, I want to trade information.
Yeah, he's like, I want to make a deal. And what is he going to get out of this?
I don't know. He's like, I want to be a guy who works in the labs who doesn't get eaten, maybe. He's like, I want to be
maybe, because he already has the information about the drug to keep him alive. Mm-hmm. And I guess he's just completely betraying Norman now because he decided not to murder demons.
Yeah, he's probably like, hey, listen, like, you have to give me the drug so I live and put me in some sort of job instead of me being eaten. Like, that's really all he can get. But, I mean, like, is that really worth it?
Yeah, like, that just means he'll be doing to other people what was done to him.
Yeah, it's not even like because if he really is so angry against the fact that Norman changed, you think he would be so mad he wants to do a different plan where he's going to kill some demons instead. But this, if anything, is just going to take him the opposite way.
Yeah, this is pro-demon.
So it doesn't really make much sense. And then the only other question I had from this episode is they show the Lambda guy again.
Yeah.
Is he the father of Norman?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Isabella mentions Norman and kind of makes a comment about him to him, and she said like, "Oh, he's your," and then like the conversation gets like interrupted because he's like, "Oh, like we have to find them," and like they got the same hair color. Hair color is always a big deal in anime.
True.
Those are my kind of questions. Obviously, you look back to season 1, there was a big reveal at the end where you find out that Ray was Isabella's son. Hair color was there again. In this one, if you go back and watch it, he seems like, or Isabella's saying that he's. Like, she's mentioning Norman to him, and he's like, oh, are you sure you want to do this? And then he's like, oh, I'm going to get them, kind of thing. And I feel like they might have been hinting something there. We don't know how the fathering system works in this world yet.
I mean, I guess that means if we know they get a season 3, we're going to meet Emma's mother.
Yeah, I mean, probably. If we're just throwing out parents. I mean, I guess. It's not for sure. That's just my guessing is the season 1.
That makes sense now that you've said it. I'm not going to lie. I missed that. I was face-palming too hard at this episode.
Yeah, go back and just rewatch that scene and just be like, oh, maybe that's a possibility.
Just no.
But yeah, I don't know. I haven't like looked up people's general reception to this episode. Obviously, we already know about a lot of the negative feelings from this season. We've discussed it a few times while talking about the episodes. I just don't know how they're going to finish it off. They have another maybe 3 episodes, possibly 4, to do a whole break into headquarters is such a big plan.
Yeah.
Like, think about how long it took them in season 1 just to break out of like a house with very little security. And now they have to break into
the most heavily guarded place in the demon world.
In this demon world in 4 episodes, like 3 episodes. But then to me, there seems like there's too much time left though to just have just preparing before they set off in season 3.
You know what I think might be happening?
What?
I think they've realized that they're not getting another season.
So you think they're just gonna try and end it?
Yeah, I think they're gonna rush an ending and they're gonna force them back into the human world and just call it.
Well, I don't know if people would like that, but I guess
people don't like it as it is.
People would like that it'd be over at least.
Just end it so they can do a proper season 2 at this point, almost.
Yeah, I don't. What if they they go to the headquarters, they die, and then it turns out it was all a dream, and then they start back at season 2, episode number 1, and then they don't skip the arc.
I guess. I mean, at this is the first episode I genuinely felt this was a bad series.
Yeah, and it was kind of sad too because I liked the last episode a little bit, but yeah, I've been against like Emma's whole opinion on the whole demon thing and that kind of stuff, anyways. And then I was kind of with Norman. I understood that he knew he was putting all of the badness on himself and his people.
That was very in character for him.
Yeah, but it was trying to solve the world issue and said like we still don't really have a solution. Like now they just have to pretty much like lose because there's no feasible way that they could all break into this place even with this information. I guess they're going to try and like shut off power and do some crazy shit like that. But it's just, I don't know. Even then you still have, they mentioned before that they want to rescue like kids from all the farms.
Yeah, that's not feasible.
Yeah, even in this current plan, they could maybe rescue like Phil and the kids from one farm, go to the headquarters. But I don't think they can go to every single farm, rescue them, and then manage to make it into the headquarters and do it.
Yeah, unless they pull some like major time skip. But then we're going to lose it on the kids who are being shipped.
Yeah. So I don't know how this season's going to go. I mean, we're probably going to keep watching it just out of curiosity to kind of see where it ends off. Even if it has a bad ending, at least then we've been rewarded for the amount of effort we put in. And then, yeah, probably as soon as this is over, we'll probably be replacing it with something like Reincarnated as a Slime, which at least will be continuing on for the next season.
I wish we were doing Reincarnated as a Slime. I really like this episode this week.
I haven't seen it yet. Wait, maybe I haven't seen it yet. No, it's a busy week. But yeah, so obviously, if you have any thoughts about Promised Neverland, it was a pretty short topic, but that's because there wasn't much to say in the episode that we'd really want to get into too much anyways.
Just look at Twitter. You'll get most of our opinion from it.
But yeah, let us know if you think it's worth it, that we should continue watching it right to the end and keep talking about it weekly, or if you want it replaced by something else, because we could just watch it on our own time and talk about something else instead.
Yes.
Let us know down below.
Yeah, I'll totally keep watching if we stop talking about it here.
Yeah, so just let us know down below what you think about it. Okay, next up. Quintessential Quintuplets, episode number 10.
5 cranes in return.
Okay. Obviously, this one off last week, we discussed the end of last week, was Ichika pretending to be Miku, saying that, hey, by the way, Ichika likes you. We had the mixed opinions on that. Some people liked it. Some people didn't like it. I'm still an Ichika fan, so I was down for it. Whatever she has to do, she's got to use some tactics, get ahead.
You really are into psychos now, aren't you?
I'm not into psychos. That's not okay. Listen. So
Did you see the dead fish eyes?
I think someone in the comments was also backing her up, being like, "No, it's not weird because she knows that they both love him anyway." So, and I don't know exactly how I can explain that wouldn't be kind of like stupid to do. Like if the main character wasn't such a dumbass, he would figure it out pretty quickly anyways.
I mean, I feel like he's going to figure it out pretty quickly. So,
I mean, even if he figures, like, I don't think that Ichika's necessarily that worried about him figuring it out, because even if he figures out, he doesn't gain or lose really any more information that he's told. It's just that Ichika found that easier, like that the easier way for him to know about her feelings.
Yeah, but it also gives the information that she's willing to throw her sister under the bus to do this.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of like, even in this one, when she has the conversation with Nino, right? She basically says like, she admits that she loves him or like that. And she's like, hey, and I'm going to do everything I can to get him. And then they start like their little rivalry, right? So each of them have to kind of accept that they have to be able to throw the other sister under the bus.
I mean, okay, my big question here is, do you really think equating her to Nino, the person who's drugged him multiple times, is a good play?
Listen, at least Ichika hasn't drugged him. I don't think that her move's that bad. I think that obviously it would have been better if she could have just been like, hey, by the way, I like you, the same thing as like Nino did.
Yeah.
But she couldn't do that yet. And she did a way that doesn't necessarily hurt anybody. She's not like, hey, Ichika loves you. You should pick her over me because I'm kind of ugly and stupid. While she's like dressed up as one of the sisters. Like, I suck. Like, let me tell you all my flaws.
There's an implication when you say that, though. It makes it sound like Miku's kind of rooting for Ichika. So if Miku comes out,
all's fair in love and war, she should have been like, hey, by the way, also like I sure do suck, and Nino also sucks, so you should pick Ichika.
Yeah, because that wouldn't give it away.
Ichika's
I don't think
girl.
He's that dumb.
He's pretty fucking stupid sometimes. It's like, I mean, that's the classic, like, all the bitches love the male inside the slice of life thing, but he's too dumb to realize it.
I mean, yeah.
Or else in first episode he would just bang them all. Like that's the difference between a anime protagonist and a hentai protagonist, is that the hentai protagonist realizes that the girls like him.
I mean, yeah.
But there's a couple funny parts in this, like their conversation still is hilarious. I saw like a gif of like the what the hell was it, like knee no brakes, and it was like the train with their face on it in the part. So at least now there's 3 of the girls who know they like him at this point, and they kind of all know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Nino knows that Miku likes him yet.
I think she's figured it out. Miku wasn't exactly subtle.
I hope so. Like, she hasn't been subtle at all. there's a couple big parts in this episode. Okay, one very important part is Itsuki at one point they find her bag.
Yeah.
And it shows her like, be like, oh yeah, like that's mine. And we see it looks like the Rena wig and stuff like that. So obviously that's pretty sus. That's everybody's guess anyways, that she was the one who was being Rena.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who, out of all of them, I think she's the one who's closest to their mother. So
she was the one who most obsessed with the mother, always being the most weird about the whole like Rena thing. Plus she also finds, who finds the picture?
Oh, Ichika.
Yeah, Ichika finds the picture, and it doesn't like mean very much to her. She's like,
he specifically said this is from Kyoto.
Yeah, but
so is there anything in the picture that identifies it as part of Kyoto?
I don't know enough about about Japanese culture. Maybe there's that Kyoto Tower in the background. That's the thing. So maybe that's right in the background of the picture. I'd have to rewatch it.
Because, well, think about it. Because if there's nothing identifying it as being Kyoto.
But all of them were in Kyoto at the time. Maybe like this is going to be weird. And in the flashback we eventually see, he actually hung out with all of them that day, and he just didn't realize it.
We're gonna love Hina this
every
shit.
like hour they swapped, and he just didn't notice. So
I mean that is possible.
It's definitely possible.
But then the question is, why wouldn't Nino have recognized it?
I don't know. And Nino also obviously didn't like. Nino seems like to me like obviously the most one that I don't think is the Rena, because even she never recognized him as a kid when she when she saw the picture of him and that kind of stuff. So she seems the least likely. And then I think what was the other big thing in this? So that was obviously hinting that she's Rena, which most of us kind of guess anyways, but it's good to know.
This one we got a lot more time with Yotsuba.
We did, yes. So we see very much the same kind of flaw as Ichika had in the previous episodes about like putting her sisters ahead of her because she's the older sibling. Yotsuba also in this has very similar. It's discussed how she puts other people's like needs above her own, even when she is listening to her sisters about trying to make up like the trip group. Each of the sisters wants something differently. They're like, hey, they want to be in a group with Usagi to try and move ahead with him on the spring trip. And then she's like, well, you know what, like what if we just put all of us in one group? And they're like, that won't work, we're 6 people. She's like, well, I won't be in it, like you 4 and Futaro or whatever like that. And they're like, no, you can't do, like we're not going without you.
I mean there's a little bit of a difference because it was really more that she doesn't know what she is on her own. Because she doesn't, like when she's asked for a gift, it's like, I don't know what I like.
She's like, oh, Nino likes, or she's like, oh, Nino likes this thing, or Itsuki said to go here and get this, and
it was like, this is Itsuki's favorite restaurant. This is the shirt Nino was looking for. This is the spa Miku goes to. I
think if there was like a consistent, like, how there's always those like YouTube channels with like best anime by rankings in the year, and you watch like a little chart go up as the years go on. If there was like ranking in like best girls and quintessential quintuplets, this episode she would have went up a lot though. Like the whole like scene with the swinging and that kind of stuff and stopping
her
back.
stock rose massive.
It did get way better because she's always been kind of like the boring one. I don't know. There's some reasons like I feel like I've always not liked Itsuki because she seemed too obvious. It seemed too much like she was the first one he meets.
She's the vanilla choice.
Yeah, it seemed like if this was a regular slice of life without quintuplets, she would have been like the main one. They just never would have introduced the sisters in the first episode after. So that's why I just kind of like never liked her, mainly because of that. Also, like her and Nino were both like the bitch character in season 1. So I was like, are either of you special? You're both just kind of bitchy. At least one of you drugs people. At least like moving on to season 2, she's no longer the bitch character, right? Like that's kind of, she's evolved.
Yeah, she's a lot more supportive, and she's evolved to the friendship stage.
Yeah, she's just boring now. Like, I guess like maybe the subplot with like the Rena thing might be making her more interesting, being like, hey, it's probably her. But compared to the other sisters, she's pretty boring. And then I think other than her, Yotsuba was also kind of like the boring one in comparison.
Yotsuba was always kind of like the middle standard. She didn't have anything bad about her, but she didn't have anything particularly good that made her stand out.
Yeah.
There was a couple scenes early in the series that made her kind of a little bit more appealing, but at this point, having her actually rise up again is putting her on par with Nino again.
Plus, we need her to now. I think you see it in this episode more for the first time than ever before, but her actually, starting to admit to herself that maybe she likes him as well.
Yeah.
During the whole swinging thing and trying to, like she decided that her gift basically was just like the time with him, like him going on like a date with her kind of thing. So we see that a lot more in this episode, which is important because I still think compared to the 5 of them, Itsuki and her are the ones that are in the love with him the least shown anyways. Yeah. I think at one point Itsuki even like notices the other ones like being in love with him, and she doesn't seem like jealous or anything like that. So
she seems off put. She's very much like, oh crap, something's going down.
Well, I'm sure as like the motherly character, she's probably worried about like realistically, only one of them can get him, if at all. And that is going to drive a pretty big wedge in their sisterhood. You know, let's say one of them does end up marrying him. The other one's loved him the whole time. Then all of a sudden he's related to them. I mean, I'm just slowly describing a hentai plot as I move forward here. But
this is devolving pretty quickly.
I'm sure there's some good like dojin for quintessential quintuplets. There's got to be.
I mean,
so the material's all there.
If there wasn't before, this season's definitely brought a few out.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Yotsuba had more stuff, which is really good. I'm very much excited for the school trip because school trips it's like Hot Springs Beach school trips, always fun episodes.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of the fun got taken away a little bit by the groups.
So, I actually kind of like it because we got to see him interacting with other characters.
Yeah, I guess a big part of this episode in the beginning was that other male character who apparently has been in a rivalry with Futaro the whole time, even though he didn't notice, about like his grades, and then he kind of bets like, hey, you can't make it in the top 100 of this in this national mock exam or whatever like that, and he's like, I can make it in the top 10, and then he has to study really hard, and that's kind of the first part of the episode, and then he makes it number 3.
Yeah, that's where the name comes from because they made him cranes for his birthday because they couldn't celebrate it.
Yeah, so he makes it number 3, kind of develops maybe a friendship with this guy, and then they end up making like a little group.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I remember him from the manga, and I forgot he hadn't been introduced.
Who's
yet.
the third person in their group again?
Oh, he's from the first season. He got relationship advice from him.
Okay. Did he confess that he liked one of the other girls before like their other trip at the fire dancing thing or the fuck it was?
Yeah, he was trying to ask it. I think it was Ichika.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just obviously I would really much like if they're like, hey, groups of 6 are allowed now, and then we get to see a school trip where he's with all 5 of them.
I'm very curious about why they would put that such an arbitrary limit. There's also one very obvious answer that they didn't think of. Just make 2 groups of 3 and just go together.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, maybe there's points where they don't go together. Then it's like, how do you decide who's the 3 with Futaro? You know, because that seems like the issue, right? Each of them comes up with their own way trying to get a specific group made to benefit them the most.
True.
So, I mean, entertaining episode. I think that the only really important or very important things, the plot, I think, is a little bit about Itsuki Rena hint. Because that's still one of those plot lines in season 2 that's pretty important, that's been showed a few times. And then, like, I think obviously the Yotsuba stuff, we've had a lot of Ichika and Yotsuba in the last couple episodes, which is a good thing, you know.
They're giving some time to shine to them, so.
Yeah, so now I'm just excited for the school trip, and I didn't watch, like, if there was a next time, because is the next episode going to be the school trip?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, because the episode basically ended with them having established their groups. So
yes, I like how the 5 of them are all there, and it's like, oh, this is awkward. Everyone's like, oh, we knew the 5 of them would be in one group, and now they're just kind of like pissed at each other a little bit.
Yeah, they're all
for
just
each trying to fuck the other one out of a group. But yeah, either way, I'm excited for the next episode. School trip should be pretty banging, especially since in the same season we got a spring or a hot spring episode.
Yeah.
Now, if they can somehow before this is over fit in a beach episode.
Oh,
well, by golly, is that ever a season? But yeah, if you have any thoughts on any of that, I don't know if there's really too many theories you're going to have about quintessential quintuplets.
Just argue about who you think is Rena if you don't think it's Itsuki.
Yeah, it's really about who you think Rena is and who do you think he's going to end up marrying in the end. So, you know, those are pretty much it. But, you know, let us know if you like the show, if you have any you know, thoughts about it, if you're just really liking season 2, even comparison between season 1 and season 2. So far, I think that season 2 is like killing it.
It's doing really well. I think the biggest change was they did a studio change, didn't they?
Did they?
I think so, because the character designs changed a little bit.
The character design is fantastic. I think the big thing, too, is obviously season 1 is, you know, introducing the characters. Because we have the main character plus 5 extra equally important characters. That's 6 full characters we need to, like, learn all their likes, dislikes. Like, you know,
but that's pretty par for the course for any type of harem series. So
I guess, but I feel like Quintessential Quintuplets does a better job at actually trying to make them all equal. I feel like most other harem series, there's always the one, and like maybe you could argue that you thought Itsuki early on was supposed to be that one, but they take enough time devoted to each of the other sisters that you can. There's going to be people kind of even out spread between the sisters. Yeah, even though shit'll be Ichika. But
yeah, there's usually one standout, then the rest are kind of sub characters.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, just leave us any thoughts down below for Quintessential Quintuplets. Next week we'll probably, unless it's like a really huge episode, maybe we'll try and fit in both. But we'll probably be talking about Horimiya. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a fair chance, you know, before the season's over.
Yeah, I'd like to actually talk about it again at some point. So.
But yeah, we'll see about next week when we get there. Okay. Next up on the list, Kumo Desu ga Nanika, episode number 10.
Who is this geezer?
I'm assuming they're referring to the mage.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously Kumo Desu, very big anime, especially on our channel.
Yep.
I think like 90% of the comments are about it. There's always lots of theories. There's people enjoying our theories. I think some people mentioned before that they want us to like to make a prediction list, like all the things we've predicted since starting it, and then kind of seeing where they cash out, which we'll probably do eventually just for fun, which would be pretty cool.
Maybe before the last episode, just to see where we got.
Yeah, because each episode when we recorded, some of the comments is like, "Oh my god, you were like so right and somehow so wrong about this this one part," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's us." But obviously, last episode was like a really really big like. I want to say like world building, but really it was like world tearing down sometimes too. Like we didn't really. As on like course with this entire anime, every single thing we learn, we then like have 6 more questions about it, and with that one introducing the whole like demon lord army. Obviously, there are lots of theories about like who Kumiko is in that future.
Yeah, is it the obvious one sitting on the throne, or is she one of the commanders?
Yeah, a lot of people like someone put the names of all the commanders, and like the 2 standouts were obviously there was I think Shiro and Kuro. So just black and white, and then Kuro was the guy that we see with like the horns who comes in on the phone, and then the Shiro was the white hair one with the hood up. Character who barely speaks with hood up with code name. Seems pretty likely that I have to agree with some people in the comments. Theories are like, hey, I think that like that one's actually gonna be her.
That's protagonist energy right there.
That is protagonist energy. Not to mention that most of the time Kumiko is like a white spider. Yeah. Even sometimes when she has that like weird gold glint to her, pretty much white with some pink spots and stuff like that. So that's definitely possible. Plus, like the Demon Lord is just way too big of a red herring.
It seems too obvious. Like even if you watch the opening, it seems very implied it's Kumiko.
It's very possible that the Demon Lord is going to end up being like the mother, like Kumiko's mother, like Teratech, who people mentioned this in a few times, is like the off scene fought like the Rend dragon and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and, like kind of kicked its ass from what we saw. So it's very possible that, or one of the other siblings that maybe was somehow even more successful than Kumiko.
I mean, it could even just be a spider from a completely different group that just progressed faster.
Yeah, obviously seems very like they're trying to make her very spider-like. I think that there's a very good chance it's either a mother, a sibling, a spider at a different time. Yeah, but a big red herring energy right there. Like I just cannot believe that's Kumiko.
Yeah.
And then obviously last episode, like the Julius death was a pretty big thing. At least, they showed it off screen for the most part.
Yeah.
Some people think that we're going to actually see more of it later.
We'll probably see the big fight because they actually hinted at this episode too. They talked about the battle he was in too.
Yeah. And then in this one, you get a couple interesting things. So a lot of this one's about the mage.
Yeah, he's reminiscing on something that happened 15 years ago.
Yeah. So the introduction to him, first of all, is he's mentioned by Julius's like family. So the episode starts off with what the fuck's his actual name in there? Schlain? Is it Schlain? I think it's Schlain.
Shun?
Yeah, but his this world name I think is like Schlain or something,
That sounds about right.
I think that's his name in this world. It's like him. Let's be honest now. You guys thought Julius was best boy? No. That other brother's best boy, not the dick one who, is like, hey, get over your brother's death. It's time to move on for the family.
Do I have to start calling for another death?
It's the long-haired one?
I know who you're talking
about. Come on,
yeah.
He's the coolest one. 100%. He should have been the hero.
He's done nothing.
I don't care. Listen, Julius pretty much did nothing when he was the hero. He fought a spider once. Ooh, big boy. And then he died.
He had a nice scarf.
Not anymore. But so we're introduced to the father character. It's basically showing like, hey, you getting the hero title means that he's dead. The father's kind of crying about it. We get to see his, I think 2 older brothers. One's kind of the more hard, like, I don't know. Probably the smart brother is what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be
the cold
brother.
one.
Yeah. And then the other one's the much more like emotional one, hugging his brother, all that kind of stuff. Really, it's just kind of introducing us to the family a little bit more, explaining that, hey, like, most of the time the hero isn't even given to like people like the same country, let alone like brothers in the same family. So like that's pretty cool, but like keep it secret for now because we don't want like Julia's death to get out and make people sad and kind of make people lose hope. So
they've also established that they're going to pull him from the academy, so we don't get to see any of the other crew.
Yep. And then that's kind of the introduction to being like, oh, like they mentioned like they lost for the most part of like all the different fronts, but there were a couple that held up, and one of them was the one held by this mage. I don't remember his name. Very mage-like name.
I can't remember it either.
But then it shows him, and it shows him modern at like the battlefield, talking about how like the demons then fled and all that kind of stuff. And then he is talking about basically like a flash. We basically see a flashback. He talks about 15 years ago.
Yeah, he's reminiscing about 15 years ago when he met the terror of the nightmare of the labyrinth, I believe it was.
Yeah, so he went in. It shows like he went in with like a local lord. Do we know that guy from anything else? Like, have we seen him in the future? Have we seen any of his kids or something like that?
I want to say no, I'm not even sure if he survived this, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it maybe if I would have recognized his name a little bit more. Obviously, the names in this are kind of complicated. I was like, maybe he's the father of, Hugo, or the father of the red-haired boy who became a girl in this world. I don't know. There might be something like that we just don't know because we don't recognize the names well enough.
I mean, to be fair, he threw up a death flag right away when he was talking about going to see his kid. So
yeah, it's true. But a big part of this is, Kumiko very quickly discovers the entrance to the what is it?
The upper stratum.
Upper stratum. And then we see this flashback here, which once again proves that this is about 15 years ago. Yep. And they go into the dungeon and they quickly are dealing with Kumiko. And we see her very much not at all cute.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I will say it's implied it's Kumiko. We don't 100% know it's actually Kumiko.
I think after Kumiko implies it for ourselves.
So I think we have to ask the big question right now. Did Kumiko ice a bunch of guys?
It seems like yes.
Okay.
I thought that maybe obviously it starts off with they find the spider approaches them and they're like, oh, what's it doing?
It doesn't even start with that. It starts with the guy walking into the webs.
Oh yeah, true. And then
they burn it all down.
Yeah, they burn the webs down. Then they set. I originally I was like, hey, maybe this is the flashback to when they got that scarf. Yeah, they're talking about they went in there originally. So I thought this was maybe a flashback to early Kumiko. But then it's quickly then implied once we see her that this is not early Kumiko. This is current Kumiko from 15 years ago.
Because they even mentioned that they're right by the entrance to the middle stratum.
Yeah.
So.
Because they're like, a spider wouldn't go down to the middle stratum. It's hot and shit.
Yeah, it's
spiders don't like fire.
Yeah, they don't like. Yeah, they don't like lava.
But yeah, they mentioned that Kumiko pops in doing some sort of weird dancey shit. I'm assuming trying to communicate with them or something.
Yeah, she specifically says at the end she was trying to chew them out for burning her house down.
Yeah, and then she quickly just kind of fucks them up. She gives them the glare of that. And, we don't see it from her point of view. A lot of it, I think, was the actual eye attack.
Yeah.
But is it killing them or is it
That was my question. But even if it wasn't, those two guys just left them in the labyrinth.
Yeah, that's true.
So if they weren't dead before, they're probably going to.
I mean, the one guy got hardcore blasted.
Oh, God, yeah.
He had a large chunk of his body missing and it took off the old man's arm.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then when we see Kumiko, she doesn't seem very distraught about the fact she just took off a human's arm.
No, she specifically says "Oh, I was self-defense, right? They attacked me." So
it's true, but that does make us look back to the questions from last week of hey, do we really think Kumiko is really going to be fighting humans in the future, anyways? It seems like she wouldn't be that concerned about it.
Yeah, here's 20 people; they're all dead.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of fun. We see I don't know, we see obviously the very serious point of view from this mage and this other guy.
Yeah.
All their men getting taken out, them getting shot off, them trying to activate this big teleportation spell to get out, to survive and that kind of stuff. And then I'm just imagining the fight if we were seeing it from Kumiko's point of view, which would be much less serious.
I mean, in theory, yeah, you'd probably be like, why are they going down so quickly?
I just love when the guy's appraising it and it's just oh my god, this spider stats are ridiculous. Look at all the skills, and he starts going fucking crazy. They're all hey, dude, you got to calm down. We need you to do this. And he's just having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I didn't notice, they actually showed us a proper list of her skills. I don't know if it was the full list, but...
I'm wondering more because then at one point the appraisal was just blocked.
Yeah, she apparently has the ability to just stop that now.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever seen that before. I didn't think we did, but...
No, because there was other things we saw that we never saw from her before, when she was mimicking the monster's abilities.
Yeah, and I guess she has so many skills and stuff like that. It's hard for us to remember them all too. They probably popped up at one point when she leveled up. Yeah. The other big thing is after that fight in this episode, she's able to evolve, which we didn't think another evolution was coming for a little while.
Yeah, apparently icing a bunch of guys and taking out a mage is enough to level up in this world.
But we don't see the evolution, right? I think that she just accepts it.
The last thing she does is she hits the evolution and passes out.
Okay. What do you think it's going to be? Are we getting the slightly human form yet, or is that still not in the future?
I don't know, because nothing about the description of it said humanoid or that it was going to change her main form.
It did change from Zoa Ella to a slightly different name, just as fancy but
yeah, I think it was it was something started with an E and an S, and I can't remember what it was, and it's going to drive me nuts.
But yeah, so I mean that's the big thing. So where do you think we're going now? Obviously, she just made it back up to the upper stratum, which means nothing here should be too difficult for her. People keep mentioning by the end of the first core, which should be in the next episode or two, that she's gonna make it out, or people's guesses are.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be hard for her to get out, because they mentioned the reason they were there to look for her was because the monsters are fleeing the labyrinth because she's up there.
Yeah, so I mean, but where's the show gonna go? Obviously, we know where it is, and we know where it's gonna be in 15 years. But what the fuck's gonna how long is it gonna take us to get through 15 years?
They might do a time skip.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe she gets out, does something when she gets out, like showing her like being introduced to someone who's going to be, one of the people in the Demon Lord thing later. A time skip to 15 years, so we'd start matching times all of a sudden for like the second core kind of thing. It seems like the only obvious answer, but I think they're gonna have to let her out first and maybe do one thing when she gets out of the dungeon to introduce to how she could get to where she is in 15 years.
Yeah, because I think the big thing is they've established that I think that the surface world is nowhere near as dangerous as the labyrinth is.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be anything that's going to threaten her on the surface.
Yeah, other than like the actual like hero maybe, and even he's pretty weak at this point. And
well, this would have been 15 years in the past, so we could assume if it's Julius or Julius or however you want to pronounce it, he's probably not that skilled at this point.
Well, yeah, he also looks like pretty young. Like I feel like he's probably like the second youngest brother.
Yeah, so there's a chance he's not even on the same continent.
Yeah, so he's probably young, probably not that strong, unless maybe he's not even the hero yet, right? Yeah, maybe like it's a different hero.
Because you have to wait for the previous hero to die to get it. So
yeah, so I don't know. There's big questions about where the show's going. Obviously, if you're a light novel / manga reader, you probably know where it's going. But since we stay blind, we do not.
I mean, looking at the human side of things too, do you think they're going to time skip
again?
Like time skip the humans?
I don't know. That's so many time skips because that means they'd also have to. We'd have to then see.
Well, if they catch Kumiko up to their time and then they skip ahead like 5 years, so Shun could have some training arcs.
Yeah, I don't know because I guess maybe I was gonna say they could just skip ahead, so we're the 15 years, and then we could start seeing like the Demon Lord army kind of do some Demon Lord army shit. Obviously, they like retreated. Seems like they retreated after this, but they pretty much won. I don't know, like 7 out of the 10 different battles that took place, kind of thing.
Even the one they won was more because they got the commander. That was the only thing that they really won.
Yeah. So I mean, it could just take place. We could see the rest of the season be about like them trying to continue this like demon war kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like there wouldn't really be resistance right now because even though Shun's like the hero now, he's not strong enough. Yeah. So it seems like we need some sort of time skip just to get him stronger, and then to maybe reintroduce his friends. Because right now, if they're in the academy and he's going to be out, it means we're not going to see them again.
Yeah, like maybe somewhere in like the 6 months to 2 years range for a time skip.
Yeah, like something short. Maybe just being the hero means he's going to see growth pretty fast.
I mean, yeah, it's probably got something like Danmachi where he's got like an XP growth skill.
I'm wondering how many of the Demon Lord commanders are like reincarnated.
Well, how many did she say she didn't know where they were? 5?
I don't know. She said, well, she also included like she said people are dead, right? But she also says Kumiko's dead, which I don't believe.
Yeah.
Unless the options there are either that she knows Kumiko's not dead, but she's saying dead because it's like easier for her to say than being like, hey, she's in the Demon Lord army or something.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't have information about her. Maybe at one point she thought Kumiko died, or like Wakaba, because we don't technically know they're the same person at this point, and they might not even be.
That is true.
But at least what she believes, she thinks that she's dead. Yeah. So
because I mean that could tie back to the fact that if Kumiko's able to stop people appraising her, maybe she can stop people tracking her with whatever the admin privileges she has are.
Maybe.
I mean, hell, for all we know, she's actually Administrator D, and she's the one who gave her the skill. She just doesn't want her game to end.
What if she's Administrator D in the future, and then she's given back in the past to give herself the skill?
What?
I was basically implying that like Kumiko eventually evolves so high that she becomes Administrator D, and then uses time travel powers to give herself powers in the past to try and get her to the point where she becomes Administrator D. Yep, makes sense. Makes sense. Do you think someone like Kuro, like the guy we saw in the last episode, do you think he's going to be someone who's reincarnated?
I mean, I feel like there's a very good chance multiple demon commanders are going to be reincarnated.
Because I mean, the fact is that he just walks in, picks up the phone like he knows what it's for. Yeah. That means.
I mean, I said this when we first saw him. I thought it was Hugo, like upgraded. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, but I still feel like that's there's a chance that he just went through like a demonic transformation or something.
But it not only would have had to be a demonic transformation, because Hugo is about 15, 16 years old, and this is 15 years ago. So Hugo would probably not even be born yet. So unless it's Hugo in the future, who can then go...
this is before I realized about...
interdimensional Hugo.
I mean, yeah, because he teleported, so...
Hugo is another question. Like, when are we going to see him? Obviously, we see a demon-like person go in, pick him up, and this was right before the whole demon war thing started. Yeah.
We're probably going to see him when Shun takes the battlefield. He's going to be on the other side.
Yeah, and he's probably going to be a dick still.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't go to the demon side and become a better person.
The one thing I'll 100% say about the show is that I just cannot really predict where it's going because it's so different, right? Like, even just we've spent so long in this labyrinth. If you would have talked to us like when we, just knew the show was coming out or we were one episode in, we figured she probably would have been out of there in like 2-3 episodes and then, met up with a bunch of heroes and stuff like that, joined a party, that kind of shit. Yeah. But instead, it looks like we're leading towards a future where we're seeing two perspectives. One of Demon Lord's army that she's probably going to be a part of, and then one of the human army. They have to fight each other. I
mean, for all we know, we're going to get completely red herringed here, and she's going to be like a third party who's just trying to stay out of both sides' affairs and gets caught in the middle.
It's true. Or she's like a third party. I mean, they haven't mentioned one yet. She's some sort of third party who's just going to actively try to stop the war between the two of them, being kind of human and kind of monster.
I mean, she doesn't seem to care one way or the other for either side.
But this is 15 years in the future. Maybe she developed a care.
I mean, yeah.
Obviously, right now, we don't even have like a timeline of how long she's been in this world. Because like, she's by herself, so time could either be moving really slow or really fast for her.
Yeah, there's no day-night cycle. There's no actual proper sleep cycle.
But at this point, right, she spent obviously probably more time in her original life than in this world. But then if you think about it, by the time it's 15 years in the future, she's kind of probably spent more time in this world than her actual previous world.
Because they would have been in like the 14 to 17 range.
Yeah, so then that kind of makes it so this whole thing becomes much more real, right? Like all of a sudden she might actually start caring about the progression of this world and like the outcome of this kind of shit more than she does right now.
I would argue the other way, because after that much time in the body of a monster living as a monster, do you really think she's going to care much about her human life in the past?
I mean, the other thing too is that it's very different when she also thinks something's going on, right? Like there's like it in her mind, it's like some sort of video game like thing. There's an administrator watching over them, giving them skills, this kind of stuff. So in her mind, this could just be like a game still. So she might not take it as seriously. That might be why she doesn't even care so much about killing these humans.
I mean, but we still saw that with the humans. They were looking at it like a video game because they were looking at the skills. Like that's what happened with Hugo. He went power hungry as a result.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like that's also just the world they're born into. If there was like, especially if there are no video games, if you're just born into a world and you can look at your skills and stuff like that,
it's
might
natural.
not be. Yeah, it'll just be natural. But Kumiko, knowing what video games are, knowing what in her mind is a normal world, she might just be like, hey, I don't mind killing humans. This is just a game. Like this is I'm in some sort of big VR game after the classroom thing or something.
I mean, I feel like with everything that's happened and all the time she's almost died, I don't know if she would have that same detachment at this point.
I don't know. I mean, the fact is she hasn't died yet somehow. So
a lot of luck and a lot of plot armor in some cases.
I think my favorite comment from last week's video was definitely the Rudius and Kumiko shaking hands and it's like God is entertained by our lives kind of thing. Because we've seen that in both episodes. I think the same week is when they were both introduced.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very entertaining episode. Obviously, like there's not even that much to discuss in the episode. We're just kind of constantly discussing like the theories and where we think this could possibly go.
I think that Kumiko killing humans is a huge leap in this character's development.
It was. Plus, like they keep confirming like the timeline a little bit more, and kind of important stuff like that. We keep seeing a lot more of the hero like perspective, like Shun's perspective, which then makes us wonder: are we getting like a split perspective in the future of like the two different armies going at it, or is Kumiko secretly going to be a third army or a third force?
Yeah, because they didn't actually show us any of the battles.
No.
Like even the battle with the hero was very much a Queen Teratech showed up and now they're gone.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, once again, is it going to be like the same Queen Teratech? Like, is that going to be Kumiko's mother?
Do we even know if that was a Queen Teratech?
I think they said it, did they not? Or did they say big spider?
I think they referred to it as like a mother Teratech.
Well, I mean, is that Kumiko's mother?
I don't know. Like, for all we know, Queen Teratech is the humanoid form.
Maybe. I don't know. There's obviously lots of questions. The show doesn't give us that many answers. They're kind of saving them for very specific reveals.
I mean, every time we ask questions, we always get at least one of them answered the next episode, like in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, typically.
So
I mean, maybe we'll find out next week any of the questions we've had here.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, if you have any thoughts about this episode, anything you want to correct us on or anything you want to help us out with, let us know down below. As always, if you have a spoiler, maybe tag what the spoiler's about up ahead, say spoiler, and then leave it down below.
Yep.
Because, I know sometimes people just say spoiler, and then they put like, Kumiko dies in this episode down below, and someone's like, oh man, like I wish you would have like said what the spoiler's about, just so I could have known if I wanted to read it. So
yeah, we do cover a lot of shows. That does help.
Yeah. So just put that up, and then if you want to let us know anything, do that, and we can choose then whether or not to spoil it for ourselves. Most of the time we don't though, because we like going in blind, and I think people like us going in blind.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those series. If I knew it was coming, I'd have a completely different opinion of it. I'd still love it, but like I definitely want to know nothing going forward.
Which is perfect because we do know nothing going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep an eye out. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Kumiko until it ends. So we have a good because someone mentioned it's going on for continuing to next season, right?
I really hope so. Yeah.
I think so.
Based on the pacing, yeah, they've got another.
I didn't see it on like the list of spring anime. It could be something like Mushoku Tensei where it's going to take like a a season break and then continue on again. I don't know. We'll look into that more as we get closer. I think we're at about 3 weeks away now. So probably in the next week or the week after that, maybe we'll start doing our episodes discussing what we're going to be talking about and that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out. Okay, next up, Jujutsu Kaisen episode number 22.
The origin of blind obedience.
So obviously this is starting the final little arc before the end of the season. We knew that was going to be happening because there was not enough time to get into anything big.
Yeah.
But I think an arc like this is kind of like what the show, like its strongest points are. Yeah. Like how it starts off earlier, right? It's kind of like a horror mystery in a sense.
It is. It's showing the curse side of things, but it's also setting us up for a nice battle arc. Mm-hmm. Even if it is short, like the animation's always been on point. And this is going to be a really amazing thing to see, I think. Yeah,
and obviously, like this one is once again about like it's kind of, I don't know. It reminds me like what I really liked early on. It's this like dark, kind of like modern day Japanese, kind of like something like Kimono Jihen kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where there's like these local lore stories that have something to do with more like cursed energy or something like that. So in this one, there's about the whole thing about the people going underneath the bridge, and then eventually they're being like killed outside their doors. And you know the doors are like aren't locked but are locked. I don't know. It's like that kind of shit just is always cool. It's like, you know, there's like these specific curses that are killing people, and it's like a very specific way. So they have to solve this like cursed detectives kind of thing. Like that's the cool part of the whole like Jujutsu Kaisen school. Yeah. But for a really long time now, like for basically the entire last arc, we haven't been seeing that, right? It's been just more of a standard tournament arc. Yeah. Obviously, we're getting really, really dope action for that, but we're not seeing like that thing that kind of was the original drawn on the show.
Yeah, it's going back to its roots with this.
Yeah, we're going back like the 3-man squad trying to solve these mysteries, basically. And then, I mean, for the most part, they do kind of solve it, and then we're kind of leading into a battle now. So
I mean, yeah, but I think we're still going to get a little bit of that horror element because we're going to see this. I guess it's an incomplete curse kind of fighting them here. I saw a little bit from the preview that it's going to get a little
because the actual curse that they're hunting is not like the very one that showed at the end. That's the one that was instead released by Mahito, which is one of the cursed womb objects they stole from the school through the tournament arc. So you know they probably weren't expecting to get in this fight again and be encountered by a fucking special grade. Because I'm pretty sure that's what it's hinted at, is that it's a special grade curse.
I mean, they don't even know it's a special grade at this point.
They don't. But I mean, how many times are these kids going to get cucked? They keep going on these missions that aren't supposed to be that hard.
Yeah.
And then
this is what, mission number 2 for them?
Yeah, because obviously the last time, the very first mission they go on, they go in and you know it was kind of set up so that
Itadori would die. So they end up facing a special grade. But at the same time, they almost also killed the other two. And it's kind of been implied that Megumi is like pretty important. He's from he's from the bloodline of one of the other families. It is, but at the same time, it feels like he's kind of the black sheep.
Well, he kind of rebels against it, which I think we're going to see more when we find out more about his like sister character, who is mentioned in this episode. Finally,
we finally get an establishment. And
listen, I thought she was dead. Like I thought she's been dead for the longest time. But instead, we just find out that she's like bedridden. So you know, the whole fact that in this one, I like how they kind of like linked her story in with the current like. Curse thing, you know, she went to this school, he went to this school, she did the whole bridge thing. So now, like, when this thing comes to kill her, though, unlike the other people who kind of notice things 2 weeks ahead of time and kind of have some sort of time to react, since she is like bedridden, unconscious,
she
in
doesn't
a
know
coma, something, she won't know what's coming and she'll just be killed.
Now, I do have one question I have to ask about that. If she's from a family that deals with curses, why did she do this?
I don't know. I think that's going to be more important when we get into her backstory, which I think is probably going to be pretty tied in for the next like 3 episodes.
Yeah, we're going to get a lot more Megumi backstory.
Yeah, because since Megumi kind of like rebels against the thing, it might be that they're from like a section of the family who like left, and maybe they didn't even know about curses and stuff like that. Like at least like these two until this kind of happened.
Yeah, maybe he picked up the mantle because of what happened to her.
Yeah, I'm thinking like they kind of the two of them like siblings just learned about this whole curse thing. Maybe after their like, parents were killed by a curse and stuff like that.
Maybe
it's gonna be something like maybe their family tried to get out of it. Like you know we don't want our kids to grow up in this life in this like family. It's too strict. They're trying to like to. Obviously, you've seen a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen like family issue stuff already about like the responsibility and like the bloodline and stuff like that with the two sisters.
Yeah, but the way the I can't remember his name, but the blood user talked to him, I don't think that would be the case. I don't think he's ostracized. Mm-hmm. I think he's kind of self-imposed this on himself.
I don't know. The family literally like, wanted his mom to fuck off because you know she's kind of like they called her like a slut or something like that. And
well, that was the blood users.
Yeah,
she was a concubine. Mm-hmm. So she was like a side chick. So
yeah, so they didn't like that, right? So I just think in general, there's probably a lot of like rules and restrictions from being in these type of families, and then maybe Megumi's parents decided at some point to split from that because they didn't want that kind of toxic environment around. So then Megumi and his sister maybe grew up without knowing about curses, unlike the other kids in the family, and then something happened that made them find out. And obviously, I think we're gonna, since there's like 3 episodes left, I don't think it's all gonna be taken up like with this one fight.
No.
So I think that maybe we're gonna get a little bit more, especially since they linked in this story so much with Megumi and his backstory,
Yeah.
same school, stuff like that.
I mean, I think we're gonna finally see Megumi's technique next week.
You think so?
Well, based on the
I don't.
coming next
Yeah,
time.
they definitely, especially with this being linked to his school and his sister and stuff like that. They can't just have Itadori kick its ass.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to stop it. I don't know if like Itadori is just like maybe not matched up good against this thing, or if he's going to be like distracted by something else.
It could be like a direct counter to him, like he was to Mahito. That might be why Mahito sent this after him.
Yeah, it's also possible that Itadori does fight the special grade, and maybe Megumi's thing instead is dealing with the actual curse that's going on that's going to kill his sister.
Yeah, the one that's going after his sister is probably his bigger concern because like Itadori's probably not going to lose.
They did like we don't know. It's probably not a special grade, but they did specifically mention in this that it should be higher grade than it is because they didn't realize all the people it's actually killed.
Yeah.
They didn't put all the different cases together. So maybe they say right now it's like a 2nd grade when it's actually supposed to be a 1st grade.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's actually killed enough people that it can be actually listed as a special grade. So they're both going to be fighting special grades.
True.
But I definitely think he needs his time to shine. Like we've seen so much from Itadori recently doing some really cool shit that Megumi, especially since like, that's not going to lie. Megumi kind of got shit on. You know, he got like the buds implanted in him. He just instantly got taken out.
We got to see some of his new Shikigami, but we didn't get to see him actually properly use them for the most part. So
yeah, he did not get to pop off the same way that like Itadori did in the last arc for sure. So I think he needs some of his own special time. And since they're clearly linking this so much with his character and his backstory,
yeah, this is his arc.
This is his arc before the season ends. And then I am really looking forward to kind of like the cliffhanger of when the season ends, like what's going to be the draw for the next season.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big one. And yeah, it was definitely an enjoyable episode because it was very much like what interested me in the first place.
Yeah.
And trying to solve this mystery, these different people dying in really suspicious different ways. Also, get some fun character information, like the fact that he used to be like a delinquent. You know,
I
like
mean, was he? They just mentioned that he beat up all the delinquents.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you beat up all the delinquents, you're still technically a delinquent.
I mean, okay, yeah, true.
I mean, if you murder all the murderers, I think you're still a murderer, right?
But you did solve the murderer problem because there's now only one.
I guess. But yeah, so I think that's kind of funny. I don't know if we're going to get flashbacks. I hope if we get flashbacks, he was blonde. That's the classic Japanese
my
trope.
God.
When someone's a delinquent, they're blonde.
Blonde Megami. I can already hear the fangirls.
But that'll be fun to see. I'm kind of curious as to, I can never remember her name, the girl, what her use.
Nobara?
Yeah, what her use in the next little part.
I think she's gonna get taken out early.
I hope so. But at the same time, though, the show knows what it's doing. Does it really want to make her into a Sakura?
I don't know because I know the author of the series has a very different attitude towards female characters than most shonen does.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if she does get taken out, she's going to be put into like the same way as every other time, where she's put in like a different room. We just don't see her fight.
That, or yeah, maybe she needs to escape for some reason to like get backup or something, like something that doesn't make her like just instantly lose, but try to give her an important task to do that isn't.
I mean, for
cool.
all we know, like the curse is going to split, send something after somebody, and she's going to go after it to stop it.
Yeah, it's true. Or even like maybe, like she could just help Itadori since the focus isn't really on Itadori now. The two of them could team up, making their part a little bit lesser. And then we get Megumi by himself having to do some cool shit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be too surprised. Obviously, have to wait till next week to find out. I'm trying to think if there's any big other revelations in this episode. I think that was mainly it. Like it was very a small contained story.
Yeah.
In comparison, the only other thing was like really when they showed Mahito using the womb to kind of turn the one guy into the curse. That's just the only thing that really connects with the other parts of the story. Everything else is pretty contained.
Yeah, they do give us a little bit of world building, telling us how like these cursed objects can be use anyone as a vessel.
Mm-hmm.
Sukuna's just different that he can choose his vessel.
Yeah. You have to be a very specific person to really work as a Sukuna vessel. Unlike regular ones, they can be anybody. He just picks an average Joe and gives it to him as a little snacky. But yeah, good episode. Obviously, I'm very interested to see how this kind of arc wraps up because it's very weird. Like for a shonen, after it's had two very large arcs, you know, like two 10, 12 episode arcs, and then just kind of finish off like a 3 or 4 one. They kind of got it. They don't want to go out on like a low for the show, so I feel like it's got to be still a pretty good arc.
They're definitely gonna do a hypey fight scene. I think
Mm-hmm.
they know where their strength lies in terms of Itadori, and that's going to be him beating the crap out of things.
Yeah, and some dope ass animation.
Yeah.
So I mean, that wouldn't be surprising. Obviously, Megami has been kind of like, I don't know, he's been kind of shitty the entire season. For the most part, even like whenever he's about to do something cool, it's always stopped.
Yeah.
But we obviously like Sukuna, for instance. You know, there's something in him that that's drawing Sukuna there. So we're constantly waiting for it, right? We're like,
I think we're
when's
going to
he
see that
do
technique.
a thing?
We're going to see the technique he was going to use on Sukuna.
It seemed very much like that's like a one-time thing or like a sacrifice. You know, I think that's why Sukuna was so interested because he was about to like sacrifice himself for this or do something insane.
I mean, if it's to save his sister, do you think he wouldn't?
I mean, no, but I don't know. We don't really know enough about him right now. He's been the very bland character in season 1 for sure.
Yeah, he's the character that you have to kind of force to open up over time. So,
but yeah, I think they're gonna definitely make him pop off, and then at least maybe more people will be big fans of him as we move on to season 2. But yeah, obviously, if you have any theories, thoughts about the episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, let us know down below.
Yeah.
Obviously, sadly, there wasn't any baseball in this episode, but what can you do? Maybe next week's episode.
Hey, we didn't get to see the panda punch a zebra either.
That's true. We didn't. It's his dream. One day, I hope one day they bring in like a zebra curse and he just punches it, and it's just like a real. That's like a small callback that some people won't even notice.
He just goes off and beats it.
That'd be very good of them to do. Okay, but yeah, we'll be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen next week, obviously. So keep an eye out. Okay, finally, last up on the list, because of course there's no Attack on Titan this week, is Mushoku Tensei, episode number 10.
The value of a life and the first job.
This world does such a good job at its fantasy setting. You weren't expecting this when we were in like season, or like not season 1, we were in like the early parts, right? It was all just humans, a couple like they mentioned the superb things and like the slight
they talk about the superbs. They talk about how Roxy was a demon. We see the beast people.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here.
Yeah, I mentioned it before too, because one of the things that like really popped out was always like their backgrounds and their designs.
Yeah.
Because it didn't always seem like super bright and like aggressively colorful like a lot of anime always portrays things. It seemed very much like realistic, lots of neutral colors. And then even like in these episodes, like everything just like feels so real.
Yeah, it very much reminds me of when you watch any type of film that's been filmed in Europe. It's a lot of that just very nice architecture and very muted colors in the background.
Yeah, so because in this we're getting like tons of different looking people. It's not just like humans or like even just like a demon race all looks the same. We're seeing like horse people, lizard people, bird people.
Yeah, I think it would have been really easy just to cop out and give them all funny colors and maybe a couple horns.
Yeah, kind of just make like a really basic bitch demon race kind of thing, But instead they just like, hey, like we're gonna make a fucking assortment of everything. Like there's a little bit of everything in this town. Even like we're seeing kind of the new like outfits or even like looks briefly by like Rudy, where he has like the spiked hair and the eye patch and stuff like that, and he hops in and
I don't know if that was just a one-time thing or
I think it was probably a one-time thing.
Yeah.
He's just playing around. But yeah, a lot of this one. So this is way more like relaxing than I would have guessed. This whole this arc was going to be after the like mana thing, like the mana storm. The last episode even they mentioned like it's going to be really hard to get back home, and it seems like it's going to be this like dark journey that's coming up in the future. And then in this one though, they're like, hey, let's like stop into this town, make some money for a little while.
Yeah.
So it's not that huge of a rush to get home. So in this, they literally joined the town. They had to first use some sort of moss or something to dye his hair. To hide him because the people won't let him in the town.
I mean, he still has the gem on his forehead, which makes me question it a little bit.
The good part though is that like Rudy literally uses like this just shows how smart Rudy is that he uses the whole like hyping him up to make it look like maybe that's like a fake Julie put there to try and get his party some extra hype. So he really cleverly came up with this way to both slowly introduce the fact that he might actually be a superb, but like helpful in the town, while most people though aren't scared because they think it's just fucking funny that they're even trying to pull this like stupid prank off.
The fact that they even named the party Dead End after him.
Yeah, so and then his logic is that like, people will some people might slowly come around and actually believe as their party gets better and better and does more things. But at that point, you're also being like, hey, he's been here though for, weeks or months doing all these different jobs and he hasn't like tried to murder us all. So, when eventually it's revealed to like when everybody actually believes that it is actually the Dead End, like the superb guy, at this point, he's already been there and been doing useful things for so long. They're like, hey, wait, like, should we really be scared of him? So like Rudy has a very smart plan here, right? He even mentions he's taking like, baby steps, like a little bit at a time.
Yeah. The big question is it going to work out?
I mean, obviously anything could happen that could change how it works out. I think that we're going to get a little bit villainous intent from the horseman.
Oh God. Yeah. He's definitely got that blustery, almost like Gaston level of like, I'm in charge here. I'm going to screw you over.
I mean, even that, like the fact that, basically the mission that they ended up doing to move the party along was the whole like finding the lost cat.
Yeah.
And when he came in, he was like, hey, maybe you should take this mission. Like at the time it's supposed to be like he's making fun of them, like being pussies, like take this like lost cat mission. But he also specifically mentioned the mission that they ended up doing, which is the one that got them ahead and did some stuff.
Yeah.
And then even though like, he comes back in later at the one point after they've kind of formed their little mini party and did some stuff and
after they joined with P Hunter.
Yeah. Pea Hunter. It's like Bowel Hunter all over again.
I know. I mean, I get what they're going for. It's supposed to be like
Hunter.
Pet. Yeah.
Yeah. So a big part of the episode revolves around they go like many other like Isekai animes or even fantasy animes. There's a guild system. There's ranks. Yeah. So to take on missions, you can only take missions one above whatever your rank is. And since they're so new, they don't have a good rank. They're the lowest one. They can only
you start
take
at the
on
base.
Yeah, they can't even take on like hunting missions yet, which will be their strong suit because he's very strong with magic. The two of them are very good at killing things, as we even see her absolutely destroy some wolves in this episode.
Yeah, she is not screwing around at this point.
So they want to take on slaying missions, but they just they don't have the time right now. The missions that they are getting that they can get at their rank are not even enough to cover their nightly amount to stay in the inns and stuff, right? So they're actually going to be negative after each day. So Rudy kind of can't figure out what to do, and then as he sleeps, he's encountered by this god figure again, who says like, "Hey, like my last hint was pretty good, right?" He's like, "So how about like take my next hint?" And Rudy's like, "Okay, fine, dude, just give me the fucking hint. Like, let's get to it."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Yeah, take on that cat finding mission." And he's like, "Okay."
And all your problems will be solved.
Yeah, so obviously they take on the cat finding mission. They find the people. It's this group of adventurers called P Hunter. They're basically going out there catching cats and then turning them in for the rewards.
Yeah, they go out, they kidnap animals.
Yeah, so that someone has to put a job up to find it, and then they turn in the animals.
Which I have to ask, like, is this even worth it?
A very small amount based off what we're seeing, but I guess they are not strong enough to take on stuff like slaying missions yet, so they only have so much to do.
I mean, yeah, but like, can you make enough off of this to actually like make it worth going out and capturing this and making this hole to keep them in?
I mean, maybe they're just really good at capturing pets. Like.
I mean, maybe
that's all they're good at. They're like, great at like luring cats in. Like cats love them. They just like walk through the town.
They're not even cats. They were freaking lions.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently for them it's worth it, but it could just be like they're just trying to figure out how to survive, and they're so weak they can't do any slaying missions and stuff like that.
Maybe.
But yeah, where it goes to, obviously one of them gets instantly killed.
Yeah, he kicks Rudy in the stomach. So
yeah, he gives a big kick. I thought originally when it was done, I thought it was going to be Eris.
That's what I thought.
Because even like in this, right, we see the one adventurer introduce herself to like Rudy. And then like she rips like the button off the coat, and then Eris just starts kicking her ass, like beating her in, or him in. It might have been a male.
I think it was male.
Either way, like absolutely kicking this adventurer's ass until Rudy has to like heal them and apologize. And then when this happened, when they see the head roll on the ground, you don't see who did it. I literally thought it was going to be Eris again. Like this person just killed or kicked Rudy, so Eris just kills this dude.
And nope.
But no, it wasn't. It was can't remember his name. It's too fancy.
Rujard,
something along those lines. But yeah, he just took off his head and he's like, yeah, he is evil. He hurt a child, so that's not allowed. And then Rudy has to be like, hey man, like you cannot kill people. That's not going to help solve like the issue with your race. Yeah,
that whole moment of like, dude, he kicked me, but we just literally bolted him to a wall. Calm down.
Yeah, he basically had to like, Rudy was kind of freaking out, being like, you can't kill people. And the guy's like, no, I have my principles. Like anybody who's evil, I'm going to kill. And they kind of have this like little, struggle for a moment. Then Eris kind of comes and just punching the dude in the face, being like, no, like I don't give a fuck what your principles are. You got to listen to Rudy. He's, he's trying to do this, and Rudy's smart, so listen to him. And then she's like, if you're not going to listen to Rudy, just like go your own way. Like we're done. And then he's like, no, I always keep my promises. I'm going to protect you kids. So, by that, if he has to protect them to stay with them, he then also has to follow Rudy's rules. So, I mean, that's, kind of solved, but, we might see more in the future of him trying to really restrain himself when they have to deal with some people who he finds evil. But then the resolution of that anyways is that after that one guy's dead, he finds out that their one group is actually able to up their rank, but they've been keeping it low deliberately to do the pet hunting or the pet retrieving missions.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting, the idea that you can't take a mission more than one rank below you, too.
Yeah, I feel like there shouldn't be a limit on what ranks of missions you can take below you.
Like, I feel like, if you're like top rank, you should be able to say like, I know the little girl who posted this job, I'll take it.
Yeah, you could just be like, you know what, like, I'm feeling like a relaxing cat hunting day today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically what Rudy does is they kind of like join together as a party in a way, and then they're going to actually swap though. So they're going to take on the slaying missions. It's like a cheat code to let them actually take on missions that are higher than they are. And that's kind of where like the episode leaves off. So it was a good episode, just because like I found like the setting in the episode was like the best part to me.
The world building was really strong in this one.
Yeah, like seeing all the different like races and stuff like that there, seeing like the background of this like dusty kind of sand demon town.
Yeah.
My only questions are like, obviously we see in this at one point, Eris can't sleep and she's like, oh, like when will we get home? Being like a little homesick. Yeah. But like, why are they stopping this town for so long? If they know the way back to the human continent, like maybe obviously they might need some money to go back.
I think it's money for equipment, supplies, and even just getting there. Like if you have to stay in towns along the way, you're gonna need money for the inn.
Yeah, it seems very much like they're trying to set up like a not permanent, but like a semi-permanent spot in here to do a bunch of stuff. So I wonder, like, they don't mention, like Rudy doesn't mention in the episode like, hey, we need to stay here for a few months to earn this much money before we're able to go.
Yeah,
right. He doesn't mention that. It just seems like this is like a thing they're doing now. So it seemed kind of weird to me that it wasn't like mentioned about how long they're going to be there, because their goal is just to travel through.
I mean, it is, but you have to remember, Rudy doesn't know much. Like,
he doesn't know anything about this area and how long it's going to take and stuff like that.
He doesn't know anything about money either, so he doesn't know how much money it's going to cost them just to survive to get across.
But that makes me wonder why at some point in this it wasn't mentioned of why they're doing this. He could have just been like, "Hey, I don't know how much money it's going to take, so let's stay here for like, I don't think he knows. 2 months, and let's earn as much as we can before we set off."
I think this is the closest thing to an action plan he could come up with.
He's like, "Hey, we're just going to go to the town and we're going to earn some money." He's like, "We're going to stay here for an undisclosed amount of time to earn an undisclosed amount of money, so that maybe we can continue on the trip." Like, I'm just saying that they could have had some sort of extra information to him about him adding Rougerd, whatever his name is, be like, "Hey, like, how far of a trip is it? How much money will we need?" And him being like, "I don't know. I'm stupid."
We could be thinking about this the wrong way too. This could just not be about getting them home. It could be about him keeping his promise.
Yeah, it could be about that. Obviously, like Eris also at the beginning was kind of excited about her adventure.
Yeah.
So they might not be just out here trying to take the fastest trip to get home. They might be like, "Hey, let's enjoy the way. Let's try and solve his issue with his race. Let's give Eris the adventure she wants," kind of thing. I'm just saying that I wouldn't have mind like some sort of like quick line in the beginning to kind of set the goals. To be like, "Hey, are
just a little bit of exposition?"
Yeah, like I'm not even complaining like, "Oh, I'm so lost in this episode now." Not at all lost. But if they just would have had one line of Rudy like at the campfire earlier being like, "Hey, like, are we gonna like how long does it take to get home, do you think?" And he could have been like, "Oh, it's like a couple months." So he could have been like, like we don't have enough provisions for that. Like maybe we should stop in the city and like earn some money. I mean, like they could have solved all that just with those lines.
Yeah, I mean, you could always look at it that they could have easily hunted on the way and.
Yeah, for like food. Obviously, we saw in this one they were eating some tasty food. I wondered, they killed like a bunch of wolves. They couldn't eat those. Like I think Eris was eating them.
I mean, I think
showed
so.
Her eating some sort of weird meat.
Maybe it's some tradition where the person who kills it eats it.
Well, then Rudy has some strong. Yeah, I guess he's like, "Oh, you could have left some for me," because he's just sitting there eating maggots, and I'm like, "Why would you not just eat some of the 30 wolves she just killed, Rudy? You stupid idiot."
I mean, maybe Eris eats a lot. We just never got that established for us.
Maybe it's an anime. You always need one character eats way more than their body should technically be able to handle. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good episode overall. Really good world building. A nice setting in the episode, and obviously we're setting up for this kind of next episode. We're going to be doing some monster hunting, some slaying. People did say in the comments that this season still, like the first part of the season still gets dark. So I'm looking forward to something in the next upcoming episodes. And then obviously they also mentioned, I think we're getting 12 episodes. So we have 2 more weeks until it takes a break for the next season and returns in the summer.
Yeah, so I think we're going to get a semi-conclusion to this arc, probably the end to the actual Adventure Guild arc.
Yeah, and then before they set out on like a journey to continue and then kind of end the show this season there, or this part of the season anyways. Yeah, probably. I think the next episode they'll be doing some slaying, maybe something will happen in the end, and then the last episode will be resolving some sort of issue, probably with the horse dude. I'm calling it. He was sus.
Yeah, something's going to go down with it.
Resolving something with him or someone else inside that town before taking off. Maybe they have to leave, like maybe something goes bad. Or they just they get some money and they choose to leave to continue their adventure. It could even
just be they figure out that they brought Dead End into their town and they're getting thrown out.
Yeah, it's very possible because in this, at least like one of the guys, one of the guys in the PR party kind of realized that it probably is the real one.
Yeah.
Even like at one point, dude. Yeah, at one point you see the frog dude like stick his leg out and he just starts fucking panicking and.
Yeah, he gets stared down. It's like, oh, I picked a bad fight.
Yeah, so either way, that's probably where it's going to end. But, as I said, the show has been pretty, like, I would never have predicted there was going to be a mana storm and they were going to get stuck in a demon continent. So,
yeah,
maybe another one hits right now and they go to a different continent. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, I never thought I'd be talking about horse-headed Gaston, but...
Exactly. We didn't see this coming, so maybe we can't predict what the next 2 episodes are going to be about. So, either way, we'll find out next week. And then, we have another 2 weeks of this. So, we better enjoy it while we can before it's on a break.
Yeah, I mean, I hope next season's even half as good as this season.
I think it will be. I think next season will probably be better because this one had so many episodes just about introducing us to Rudy and really like.
I mean, just like the anime season in general. Like,
okay, like the whole thing.
Well, this one's on break.
I don't know if it'll be as good. I think it has potential for some things. Obviously, like we'll be continuing. Hopefully, the Kumo Desu and. Is there anything else continuing on the list?
That's a good question, actually.
I don't. This is something we're going to look up more as we get in the next couple of weeks before we make our like official video about the upcoming one, and then we'll probably do the same thing we did last season 2, where we start off by watching and talking briefly about every single show in the season, and then kind of pick from there.
Oh yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. But I think other than that, that's everything that we have to talk about today's episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Obviously, 1 episode shy, so a little short because we don't have Attack on Titan. But that just means next week we have 2 episodes of Attack on Titan to discuss. So that's a lot of drama considering these are 2 out of the last. 3 episodes?
Yeah, it's going to be a major...
So that's going to be pretty big next week. So it's going to take up a very large portion of time, I assume. So keep an eye out for that. You got any final thoughts? Anything about this week in general, or?
I think that was everything.
Yeah, obviously we were a little bit disappointed in something like Promised Neverland.
Not being able to talk about Attack on Titan because it got pushed back is definitely a big blow. But
yeah. Even then, like releasing a day late. I mean, when we do a podcast about weekly episodes of anime, obviously the quicker you can get them out to when the episode's released, the better. And we release our podcast, or we record it every single Sunday, so it can be as close to Attack on Titan, which is the big draw. And so releasing it on a Tuesday is what we're gonna have to end up doing. Means it's only one day away from like a new ReZero episode coming out, and our ReZero talk being too old, like basically. So it kind of sucks. But yeah, I mean, it's only so much you can do when shit like that happens, right? Like obviously,
no one knew what was going to happen when they postponed it originally.
No, and I think from what I saw, at least everyone is being very reasonable. Obviously, people are like, they're like, oh, I was looking forward to this week, but hope everyone's good in Japan.
Yeah,
because you have to be, you kind of have to care about everyone's lives in Japan a little bit more than the Attack on Titan episode that you'll get next week. So hoping everyone's good over there. Obviously, next week we'll have 2 episodes to talk about, so stay tuned for that. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. I've been Cam.
And I've been Jimmy.
Take it easy, guys. We'll see you for next week's episode, which will be a very big one. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next week, guys. Peace.